What's going on, everyone? So, reports came out that the New Orleans Pelicans have no one untouchable on the roster, that the Pelicans are open to any and all trades for their various players. And if I'm the Lakers, I am on the phone with the Pelicans immediately. The Pelicans have several players that would be huge needs for the Lakers. Obviously, the Zion Williamson is like the big name on the Pelicans. Supposedly, he's not untouchable either. Could the Lakers maybe look to make a play for him? Sure. Personally, let another team go after Zion Williamson. Maybe I'll touch on Zion in another video, future video. But to me, I want to go after their 3-and-D wings. I'm looking at Herb Jones. I'm looking at Trey Murphy, right? Both guys are coming off injuries. Both guys definitely have, kind of some health to prove, right? They got some things that they need to work on, but those guys would be ideal. Can you get one? Can you get multiple? Can you figure some stuff out to get those guys? Now, I don't know if you would be able to get like a Missy. Like, I'd love to get that, but he kind of seems to be like their franchise center. Obviously, can you work out Bruce Brown sign and trade, right? If you're not able to go and get a deal done, but, or convince him to take less money or whatnot, right? Bruce Brown was willing to take the, full mid-level exception, right? So, 13 million roughly. So could you maybe work something out to where you're doing a sign and trade and getting like a Bruce Brown and a Herb Jones? That'd be fantastic. Right now you got that point of attack, versatile defensive guy slotted alongside Luka Doncic. You got a sizable, versatile 3-and-D wing. Herb Jones, 6'7", 6'8". Love to get somebody like that. They have young, like kind of athletes. One of the big things that I've talked about with the Lakers that the Lakers really need are just athletes, right? Young, athletic, versatile players, right? You look at this upcoming NBA Finals. You got the Indiana Pacers, right? You have the Oklahoma City Thunder. One of the big commonalities with those two is they have a bunch of just young, fast, athletic, versatile players, right? They're running 3-4 guard lineups, right? Pushing the pace, and just we're in that NBA, right? We're in a space and pace league where you need versatile defensive players, you need versatile athletes, you need guys that can push the pace, that can be pests on the defense side of things, that can chase down, win those 50-50 balls. They just don't really have that. Right? Lakers have good size outside of the center position, obviously. Obviously, they need to focus and go land a center, but no, outside of that, they do have great size and stuff, but they don't really have a ton of athleticism, right? Like, they're very limited in that department as far as athletes go. And if you can go and get some of these young guys, right? Like, find those diamonds in the rough on these teams. I look at, can you go get a, like a Keon Brooks, who he's 24, 6'7" guy, probably dirt cheap. You could probably get him in a throw in, right? Or, get a, like a Brandon Boston, 6'6", sizable guard, right? Again, get these. Can you go and try to get these young, versatile players, these young, versatile athletes that maybe can come in? A Jordan Hawkins, right? He's 23. He's like a 6'5", athletic guard, right? Again, obviously there's the big name guys, right? Obviously there's the center and Missy and Zion and Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, but to me, I want to come away with one of their 3-and-D wings. I think Herb Jones might be easier to get than Murphy just because of the age, right? But at the end of the day, it's always about cost, right? What direction do the Pelicans want to go, right? How are they looking to are they looking for a full reset? So they just want a bunch of assets, right? Because then that kind of makes it tough on the Lakers, right? Do they want, salary relief where the Lakers come right in, right? Like, hey, we have a ton of tradable salaries and can kind of clear the deck for you, right? Do they want kind of young talent that they can build on, right? So maybe you're looking to take a Dalton Connect and packaging him in a deal to maybe get something done, right? Like there's you got to find out what do the Pelicans want to look for, right? I'd stay away from DeJounte Murray. I was big on DeJounte Murray, and I know some people are going to be like, oh, now you don't want DeJounte Murray? Yeah, I wanted DeJounte Murray pre-Luka, right? Now that you got Luka Doncic, I don't think you have a need for DeJounte Murray. So personally, I'd stay away from DeJounte Murray. I'd stay away from CJ McCollum. I think, basically now you have that whole Reeves and D'Lo type situation. So I stay away from those guys, right? Let a vet team that needs, a scorer and guy to go get, a CJ McCollum. If a team needs a point guard and wants to take a flyer on DeJounte Murray, let that team go take a flyer on DeJounte Murray. To me, if you're the Lakers, you got to focus on the wings and young athletes that are on a team like the Pelicans. Now, here's the problem, right? A lot of teams are probably going to be after Herb Jones. A lot of teams are probably going to be after Trey Murphy. A lot of teams are probably going to be after those guys that the Lakers would need and likely look to acquire. So you might have some competition, right? Like I personally, right? If you told me you could swap Herb Jones for Austin Reeves, I would do that in a heartbeat. I know some people might feel otherwise. I don't think the Lakers would do that. I don't believe the Lakers would do something like that. I think the Lakers would go absolutely not. But if I was if I had to say, I would do that because again, you could argue Austin Reeves is better than Herb Jones. You could whatever you want to say, right? Herb Jones is the better need, the better fit. You need the size and the two-way help, right? Legit 3-and-D, one of the better 3-and-D wings in this league, right? Guy that can slot in at the 2 and you can go big if you wanted to, slot in at the 3. With his size, he can even play the 4 at times, right? In a perfect world, could you do something where you're turning Austin. If you told me you could get Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, I would essentially give up whatever you had to in order to do that. I'd give up Austin Reeves your first. And because at that point, again, now you have literally 2 sizable, versatile wings that you could slot in at the 3, at the 2 and the 3 for you. Slot alongside Luka and LeBron. Go get that center. I mean, at that point, you go get a Clint Capella, bring a Clint Capella in. Boom, slot in Clint Capella. You're fine. You have the versatile defense. You got the athletes. You got the size. Got the defense, right? I do want athleticism. I do want foot speed. I do want a lot of those things. But you got to keep in mind, Lakers have a guy in Luka Doncic. You're running a lot of half-court action. Luka's going to be on ball very heavily. You need the guys that can complement alongside Luka and LeBron, right? So you need those sizable, versatile wings that can defend 1 through 5, right? That can defend on multiple spots, but also stretch the floor, knock down the 3, give you some form of consistency on that end, right? So I look at the Lakers and I look at kind of like what they need, and I look at teams like the Pelicans. I mean, I've talked about Herb Jones in the past before. I've talked about, Trey Murphy in the past before. I obviously, again, I don't think it's going to be easy. You look at Trey Murphy, he's 24 years old, so he's young, right? I imagine that they're probably going to have a pretty hefty price tag on him, but again, like whatever you have to give up, in my opinion, to go get him, I would do it. Now, he's also, depending on when you trade for him, could be dirt cheap. Herb Jones is making just under $13 million, right? And again, he's 26. So I do think, not that that's old or anything like that, but he's older than Trey Murphy. So maybe the Lakers can kind of throw that in like, hey, but to me, I think the Pelicans are one of the few teams that can solve essentially all of your needs. Because the center position, again, I don't think you need this super skilled big man. I'd love a Mark Williams. If you could land a Mark Williams, beautiful. But I don't think you necessarily need this guy that can, throw the ball down to and just go to work, go be a 20 and 10 guy. I think you need a center that can give you 3 things: rebounding, rim protection, and be a lob threat. Right? I think you just need a dirty work, hustle play center, a guy that can just rebound, right? Get you second chance points. I think Lakers need perimeter help more than anything. Look at the 2 teams in the NBA Finals. They're just littered with guys that can defend multiple positions, that are just athletic, that can just be the point of attack, right? And just be relentless. Create opportunities. We're in a league where it's about how many field goal attempts can you get, how many shots can you get up, all that stuff, right? I look at this team and it's like, if you could get a Trey Murphy, if you can get a Herb Jones, both guys I understand are coming off of injuries. Trey Murphy is a little more concerning just because, is a rotator cuff injury, right? So there's questions about like his shooting and whatnot, but today's technology, today's medicine, today's surgeries and stuff, I believe he'd be fine, right? And to me, again, it's just what do you have to give up to get these guys, and what does the competition look like, right? And then again, what are the Pelicans looking to do? What are the Pelicans looking for? Do the Pelicans want to just kind of clear the deck a little bit and kind of hit the reset button and kind of get off of long-term salary and stuff like that and maybe tank for the bottom, right? Or kind of retool around Zion, right? Or do they want to stack a bunch of assets, or do they want more better now ready players, right? Like it's they're a team that is very interesting because there is an argument for them to kind of just run it back and see like if everyone's healthy, right? What does that look like? Because, I mean, they were a team you were looking at and we're like, man, they might be really good. They got a bunch of just like versatile wings, right? You could push the pace. You could, DeJounte Murray, right? If they could get like a better two-way two-guard or something, right? They could probably use a center. And then Missy came along and he kind of stepped up and emerged and was like, okay, maybe they found their set, right? Like, it just kind of look at it and kind of go across the board. It's like, man, like, you might be able to pull something off here, right? Like, if you're the Pelicans, do they still look that way, right? They got new GM, new people in control, new people that kind of like, hey, we have a new vision, we want to go this way. But if you're Rob Pelinka, you got to pick up that phone. You got to do your due diligence. I am pestering them like, hey, what do you want for Herb Jones? Let's get Herb Jones done. I want Herb Jones done, right? Can you get a Trey Murphy in the deal? Can you get one of these young guys, like I said, a Jordan Hawkins or, Boston or any of these guys that like, hey, can you, even if they're just kind of tack-ons. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.